This video is on identifying pronouns. Our directions are to identify the pronouns and then tell which type of pronoun each one is. So here's our first example. I want you to study, Mrs. Gaines said to the class. Imagine if this said, Miss Gaines wants the class to study, Miss Gaines said to the class. It would sound kind of funny, so you can see where pronouns have been used to stand in for other words. We have I and you. Now we need to know which type of pronoun each one is. Here's a list that can help us. We have personal, reflexive and intensive, demonstrative, interrogative, indefinite, and relative. I, as a pronoun, refers to the one person speaking, and you refers to the one person being spoken to. And that's why both of these get categorized as personal pronouns. They have to do with who's talking or who's being talked about or who's being spoken to. Can you think of any other personal pronouns? It might help with some of the other problems and examples we're going to go through. So there's number one. I and you were personal. Here's the next one. The firefighter carefully adjusted her oxygen mask. You can imagine if it said the firefighter carefully adjusted the firefighter's mask, that it would sound kind of funny. And so it helps us to see her is the pronoun that we're looking for in this sentence. There's our 6 choices. And like before, her is referring to someone being spoken about. And that's why, just like before, it's another personal pronoun. So number 3, the children made lunch themselves. Here's our choices. If you look at it, by now you should be able to find that themselves is the pronoun in that sentence. Themselves emphasizes that it's the children doing it alone, and it ends in selves. Do you know which kind of pronoun that is? If you've studied and seen your pronouns, you should know it's either reflexive or intensive. To really zoom in and see if it's reflexive or intensive, we can try the sentence with leaving out the word. So we could say, the children made lunch. We left out themselves, but it still makes sense as a sentence. So that's what makes it intensive. Intensive pronouns can be left out of the sentence, and it will still make sense. It's just there for emphasis. So next we have, Jenny and Rosa decided they would get popcorn, but Amy didn't want any. There's 2 pronouns to find here. We have they and any. But which one of the 6 is it? They is personal. We've come across personal pronouns already, so you should be more comfortable with that by now. But what about any? Any is a vague word. It's not a definite word, so it's an indefinite pronoun. It's describing a general group of things. Next, we have who will be the next president of the school board. This one has a question. Here's our choices. Now, do you know who here knows what kind of pronouns go with questions? It's kind of a hint, because the pronouns who and the kind of pronoun it is interrogative. To review, why was this one interrogative? Because the pronoun introduced a question. So interrogative pronouns have to do with questions. Things like who, what, which, or why. So next, number 6, we have Mr. Yoshira. This is Mrs. Volt, a neighbor of yours. There are 2 pronouns to find. Sometimes the process of elimination can help when you're looking for the pronoun. So let's eliminate the nouns, and now we've really cut it down to just 4 choices. You have this and yours. Now here's our choices of what kind of pronouns they could be. This is pointing something out. Those are the demonstrative pronouns. They help us demonstrate something. This, that, these, those are the demonstrative pronouns. Yours refers to the person being talked to. So that's a personal pronoun, like we've seen a couple times already. So there's number 6. With number 7, we have Ralph Bunche, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, was a diplomat for his country at the United Nations. You can see him in the picture there. We've seen one of the 2 pronouns here before. Here's our choices. So who, there's one of the pronouns. The other one is his. Now, it's interesting because before, up in number 5, who was an interrogative pronoun, but now it's not that type of pronoun. Now, who is introducing a subordinate clause, a little extra part of the sentence. You can see it underlined. So which type of pronoun introduces subordinate clauses? That's a relative pronoun. Next, his is similar to I, you, yours, and her, which we've already seen, and it's a personal pronoun. So it just goes to show that who, sometimes it was interrogative, but in this case it was doing the job of introducing a subordinate clause, so it's a relative pronoun. What do we have next? Of all United States Olympic victories, perhaps none was more satisfying than the triumph of Jesse Owens in 1936. In this sentence, there's only one pronoun. Take a minute and see it. There's Jesse Owens down there. Let's see if using the process of elimination might help you. After taking out the nouns, we can maybe see what could be a pronoun. You have of, perhaps, none, satisfying, than. Which one of those do you think the pronoun is? By now, maybe you're good enough to see that it's none. So which type is none? None is a pronoun like the words some or most. It refers to people or things without saying exactly what they are, without being definite about what they are. So it is an indefinite pronoun. What about all? You could see that word on lists of indefinite pronouns. It wasn't one of the nouns, so what's going on there? All is doing the job of describing how many of the United States victories there were, and so that makes it an adjective. It's describing another part of the sentence, victories. So it's an adjective and not a pronoun because it's doing a different job. But in a different place, all could have been a pronoun. All right, number 9. Oh yes, the puppy taught itself how to open the gate. We have the pronoun is itself. It ends in self, and so that brings it in. You should be able to see that the pronouns that end in self, out of our choices here, are that it's reflexive and intensive. Now, if you really want to hone in and see if it's reflexive or intensive, we can read the sentence without it. So we would say, oh yes, the puppy taught how to open the gate. You can see it doesn't make sense. You need that word for the sentence to matter and make sense, so it's reflexive. Next, we have only one of 75 fine boys and girls will win the grand prize. So we find the pronoun there. There's just one. Happens to be one. And it's an indefinite pronoun. So this has been pronouns, exercise number 6, identifying the different types of pronouns. I hope this helps you learn your English. Thanks for watching.